Welcome back to Big Board. Let's have a look at Spring Prelude, Schmelude, whatever you want to call it. I thought we would, just for a level set, have a quick chat about a couple of features that I think are interesting in the game that add a little bit of flavor, I guess, number one. And then number two, I do have a background history that we can have a look at, and day by day, that I think it just might be easier to take, mark it up on the map and take photographs. Now, I don't know whether I'll do that now while I've got all the units on the map, or whether once I finish or I conclude the gameplay, I'll clear the map and then we'll mark in major formations and armies and corps and things like that. We'll see. But I've got it, and it's, this is not from Glance's book. It's not a 300-page dissertation. It's just some screen grabs from the web, and I was going to read some of it to you. But let's talk about the game first of all. So a couple of things. Let's see. So I mentioned in prior video briefly that there was this concept of, or actually in the article I wrote comparing Kharkov battles to Spring Prelude, was that there's this concept of support point tracks, where each turn you're going to receive a certain number of support points, and each combat is going to require a support point. If you build an entrenchment, that might require a support point, and there are some other things that require support points. So we have a very limited number of them to start with, and I'm playing the third scenario, which is a little bit of a hypothetical. What happened if Timoshenko actually got everything he needed and got started early? We'll see what happens there, and then that obviously changes some of the reinforcements and stuff like that for the Germans. But it's a hypothetical. But just to look at these supply points or support points, if you can see that or not. But let's just focus in on the 12th, for instance. Gives us our air factors that each side is going to receive, and then support points for the Soviets are 6 and 8. But earlier on, you can see that it's actually by army. For the 6th Army receives 4, 17th Army receives 2, excuse me, so Southern Front 2, Southwest Front 20. So big banger to get off, to hit things off. You can see on the 12th of May here for scenario 1 and 2, that's the difference there that we're looking at, just a couple of support points difference. Then 9 for the Soviets there, and then 10 here. So but then you've got rain and mud, right? So that adds a wrinkle to things as well. All right, so those support points have to be used fairly judiciously, right? You've got to choose where and how you're going to apply them, what attacks are going to matter. As we saw, once we start receiving for the Germans, it runs from as few as 8, sorry, that is incorrect. As few as 4, and then ramps all the way up to 12. And then once that starts happening, you can choose how they're allocated. Hang on, I gotta let the cat out. You want to go outside, kid? Outside. All right. Support points, yes. So that's pretty interesting. Right. So the other thing that I thought was interesting is how victory is calculated. There's the axis start out with 300 VPs on the map. So these little red circles with VP counts in them. Kharkov, I think, is worth 60 overall, or 50, one of the two. We start with 300 for the Germans, and we start with 75 for the Soviets, because they've obviously made their advances up and down the line here. Got this little salient going on here, etc. And so we would net that out, and that would be 225 VPs that are currently accrued in the positive to the Germans. And then victory is then calculated. Let's have a look at that. And that reminds me of something else I want to talk about while we're here too. We'll talk about the high risk option for the Soviets. So victory levels, if you can see that there. But that gives us a graded valuation of how each side would do versus historical. And there's a VP schedule up there, which, neither here nor there. There's obviously you lose some VPs for taking replacements out of supply at the end of the game, killing or isolating, Soviet HQs and stuff like that, right? So that's all good, all standard kind of stuff. This is interesting. This Soviet high risk option at the beginning of either scenario 2 or 3, you can say, hey, look, I'm going for broke, and I'm either going to win it, and winners are grinners, or I'm taking a bullet to the head from Stalin, etc. Right? So there's some changes to the rules. You will receive all your variable replacements on the exact turn that they're supposed to come in. There's no die roll for any of those. It will change some of the things that happen to the Axis units as well. So I thought that was a nice option for folks to explore as well. Let's see if the Soviets could actually kick things off, go hyper aggressive, and see if they can steamroll the Germans, the Axis forces. That might be interesting stuff. You can see these markers on the map here. So that's another interesting feature of the game. Markers on the map here. These guys start in position, but aren't released until turn 4. We're going to have to, just be patient with that, I guess, and work it out. Now, there are ways for them to be released if the Germans do some sort of counterattacking and come within range, or whatever the case may be. It's all good. That would release them. What else was there that I wanted to show you here before I go any further? Oh, yeah, the final thing was, the Soviets actually have a very strong pool of chits for the VCS system, right? You pull a chit for each, I guess I should say counter. You pull a counter on your hex and counter game. You pull a chit for strength markers, right? So this guy's a B here, and this guy's a C here. So if I pulled this marker for the C, he would get an 8 strength combat factor. And if I pulled a B for this guy, he would get an 8 combat strength. And if it was an A-rated unit, then they'd be 12. A lot. I think the lowest number is maybe 10 or 11 for the A's, just having a quick skim through it. And the B's are all good, good solid, no pun intended, B's, where they were all in that, I think, 8, 9, 10 range, possibly 11. So that means that it's a meaty force if the Soviets can get them in position, get all the units fighting in the appropriate divisional integrity, having the right cause focused, etc. That's all pretty interesting stuff. So there's also a little optional rule for where the divisions are broken out for the Soviets, the Balkan Group and 6th Army. And I think there's another one here somewhere. But now that I've got I didn't look at the maps in detail before I set up. So I am unclear if there was a further division for 6th Army and some of the other 38th and whatnot, whether there were lines of, not lines of departure, but demarcation lines for them to fight, not be fighting across, I guess. Anyway, so there's that. We're 8 minutes in. Let's make a second video and have a discussion about a little bit of the history that I've dug up. And then I'll probably post that online as well. I've got a written document here. You may or may not be interested in it. I'll slap it on the blog, and I'll put a link to it in Google Docs as well, so you can just pull it down from, if you're on social media, you can pull it down from Facebook in the Eastern Front Wargamers group, or my big board group there. Or you can also, maybe I can post a link to it in YouTube as well in the community chat. So there you go. Spring Prelude, getting ready to get started. I've got to allocate some of these forces once I have a look at the map and work out who I'm going to attack, where I'm going to attack. We will allocate the artillery. They have to be within X number of hexes of units from their army, etc., etc. All the usual stuff you would expect for a setup details. Okay, got to go. Talk to you soon.